Okay, recording is going. So today what we're going to do is add, subtract, and multiply decimals. But Engage New York and all their wisdom starts us with fractions. So we first have to change these mixed numbers into decimals. Two things to remember when I'm changing fractions to decimals. Really all you have to do is get a power of 10 on the denominator. Then I just know what my place value is. Or I divide the numerator by the denominator to figure out what the decimal equivalent is. You can do either way. The easiest way is if they are nice, like this, and they gave us tenths and hundredths, we can actually just make those into fractions right away. Okay? Or into decimals right away. In this case, I can now rewrite this as 25 and 3/10, because it's 3/10, plus 376 and 77 hundredths, because it's 77 hundredths. Make sense? Okay. What is the rule to add and subtract decimals? Yes. So here's the rule I need you guys to write. To add and subtract decimals, you must line up the decimal place. So the decimals have to be on top of each other to add or subtract. That is key number one rule. Okay? Now, with addition, I can actually add this either way. So I'm going to rewrite this as 376 and 77 hundredths. To add it, I'm going to put the other number under it. So 25 and 3/10. The key is I have to make sure that that decimal is on top of each other. If I have blank spots, I can add zeros to make sure that I keep my place values consistent when I am adding. If you are one of those who can understand that that blank spot means it's a zero, you don't have to put that there. You can just leave it as a blank spot and realize I'm not adding anything to it. Handwriting is really important in all of the work we're doing today, guys, because you must line everything up in order to add it, and when we're multiplying in order to add. Okay? So now that I've got them all lined up, I just add up each line. So 7 and 0 is 7. 7 and 3 is a 10. I bring the 1 over. Here's the other big piece in adding and subtracting decimals. My decimal comes straight down. So wherever my decimal is in the numbers I'm adding, that's right where my decimal goes in my answer. 6, 5 is 11, plus 1 is 12. 9 plus 1 is 10. 1 and 3 is 4. So my answer on that one is 402 and 7 hundredths. Pretty easy, right? Decimals, why are we not writing? You didn't write down the note for the rules. You also didn't write down any of the work that we did in changing it to decimals. Make good choices, okay? It's New Year. We need to start fresh. Hopefully some of you guys got all your missing work done over the break, because you guys know when the quarter ends? Next Friday. So you have until next Thursday to get anything you're missing turned in. Really quick look ahead. You can see on the board this week we're doing add, subtract, multiply, and dividing decimals. Next week we've got a quiz on basically everything that we've covered so far in Chapter 2, in Module 2. Because the quarter ends on Thursday, you won't have time to do corrections. So that quiz next week will be on next quarter's grade. Okay? Just realize it's coming up. You need to be ready for it. We've done quite a bit lately, but we haven't had a quiz for a while, so we've got to be able to do that. Okay, our next one. You have two choices on this one, 1/5 and 1/2. Choice number one, if I can see an easy way to get to a power of 10, 10, 100, 1,000, and my denominator, you can do that. The other one is remembering that the rule for changing fractions to decimals is I just divide. Take the numerator, divide by the denominator. Okay? So I'll show you both. So 1/5, I can say, okay, that's 1 divided by 5. So I add a decimal. 5 goes into 10 twice. Subtract 10, so that becomes a 0. So I could rewrite that as 426 and 2/10. The other option would have been I can just look at the fraction piece and say 1/5, if I multiplied that by 2, I can get 2/10. So anytime I can get my denominator to a power of 10, that makes converting it to a decimal really easy. Okay? Either way will work. Second one, 1/2. So I can again do 1 divided by 2. That's going to go 5 times on this one. So I can rewrite this one as 275 and 5/10. The other option would have been 1 and 2. I could have said, okay, multiply both those by 5, so I get 5/10, and then I can turn that into decimals. So either one of those ways will work. Use whichever one you prefer. I will give you a hint. The dividing works for every number, so it's probably a good one to get comfortable with, because as the numbers get harder, that may be an issue you'll need to work with. Quick side note, you can see on the first one, I reversed the order of the numbers when I added them, right? Why could I do that? What? I reversed the order. This said 25 and 3/10 plus 376 and 77 But when I did the math, I did the 376 on top. Yes? I think so. That's why I do it. I think it looks better and it's easier to line up. But what property of mathematics allows me to do that? Nobody? The commutative property of addition. Commutative property of addition says it doesn't, when I'm adding numbers, it doesn't matter what order I add them in, I'll get the same number. In other words, 1 plus 2 is the same as 2 plus 1. That's commutative property of addition. When it comes to subtraction, though, can I just reverse the numbers? No. In this case, I have to do it in the order it's written. So in this case, I need to take the 426 and 2/10. I'm going to subtract 275 and 5/10. Again, number one rule, make sure that my decimal places are lined up. Can I take 2 and subtract 5? No, so what do? I borrow from the 6, make that a 5. 12 minus 5 gives me a 7. My decimal, again, comes straight down into my answer. 5 minus 5 is 0. Can't do 2 minus 7, so I've got to borrow again. 12 minus 7 gives me a 5. 3 minus 2 is a 1. 150 and 7/10. Questions so far?
Nope.
Yes, Emma.
So for example 2,
Mm-hmm.
you showed us like in 5 and then answer at the end.
Uh-huh.
Do you just take the whole number to the fraction and put it together and just get the answer you got when you divided?
Correct. Yep. All I'm doing is replacing the fraction with what I got for the decimal equivalent. The whole number doesn't change. Okay, go ahead and turn the page. Okay, Samantha and her friends are going on a road trip. That is 245 and 7/50 miles long. They have already driven 128 and 53 How much farther do they have to drive? What kind of a problem is this? Subtraction, because they gave me the total and said I've done this part, I need to find the other part. That's a subtraction problem. So 7/50, can I turn that easily into a power of 10? 10, 100,000? Yeah. Multiply by 2. So by 2, that would give me 1400s, right? So now I can rewrite that number as a decimal, 245 and 1400. Everybody okay with that? Good. 5300, they already gave us that one. So subtracting 128 and 5300. Again, number one rule in adding subtracting, I have to line up my decimal places. Now I just subtract. Can I do 4 minus 3? Yep, that's just 1. 1 minus 5? Nope, so I borrow. 11 minus 5 gives me a 6. My decimal comes straight down into my answer. Can't do 4 minus 8, so I'll borrow again. 14 minus 8 gives me a 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. We have a word problem, so now we need to put this into a sentence. So they have 116 and 61 miles left to go. Even I do. Of course, sometimes they're on purpose just to make sure you guys are paying attention. Okay, Ben needs to replace two sides of his fence. One side is 367 and 900ths meters long. The other is 329 and 3/10 meters long. How much fence does Ben need to buy? So there's our question. So what am I doing in this problem? Why do you say subtracting? Why do you say adding? It's replacing, right? Oh, Nora? Say what? That's not both. Why is it addition?
Because even though it says he needs to replace both sides, he's saying one side is 376.
Guys, listen.
Even though it says you have to replace two sides of his fence, he's saying how much does he need to buy total. So 367 and 900 plus 329 and 3/10.
Good. Because I'm replacing everything, right? So I need to put it together to figure out how much I'm replacing. So again, 900ths, that should be an easy one to make a conversion to. 367, the key is realizing at 900ths, I need to put a 0 in the tenths place. Plus 329 and 3/10. Again, do I have to put something in the hundredths place there? Don't have to, but for most of you, it's going to be helpful to see that it is there so you know what you're lining up. So now that everything's lined up, I just add straight down. 9 and 0 is 9. 0 and 3 is 3. My decimal comes straight down. 7 and 9 is 16. 8 and 1 gives me a 9. 3 and 3 is 6. So he needs 696 and 3900ths meters. Don't forget the units of fence. Making sense so far? Are you writing all this down? You're not the one I was talking to, Sean. The one I was talking to is not writing it down. Okay, number 3, Mike wants to paint his new office with 2 different colors. If he needs 4 4/5 gallons of red and 3 1/10 gallons of brown paint, how much paint does he need in total? There's our question. So again, 4/5, can I turn that easily into a power of 10? Yeah? Multiply by 2, that's going to give me 8/10. So that becomes 4 8/10. And 3 1/10. And what am I doing to the 2 numbers? It says it's different numbers, right? Is that adding or subtracting? Yeah, it says how much I need in total, right? Okay. Don't be confused when they throw some of these subtracting words in there, like different or replacing. Got to really read and understand what they're asking. So now I'm just adding. 8 and 1 is 9. Decimal comes straight down. 4 and 3 is 7. So he needs 7 9/10 gallons of paint. Really important that you guys include your units. And make sure that the units are the same before you start adding. Questions on any of these so far?
Nope.
Doing well?
Yes.
Okay, let's turn the page. For you guys, it's on the opposing page. In other words, you're looking right at it. Hopefully. There we go. Maybe. Yes. There we go. Okay. After Ariana had completed some work, she figured she still had 78 and 2100ths pictures to paint if she completed another 34 and 23/25 pictures, how many pictures does she still have to paint? An excellent real-life example, because I always think about how many pictures is in 78 and 2100ths. Okay, is this going to be an addition or subtraction problem? Subtraction, because they've given us how much she still has to do. She did this much more, so how much more does she still need to do? 23/25, how am I going to turn that into a decimal?
27.
Times 4. Okay, so I'm going to do times 4. So my 23 times 4 gets me 1292. So that becomes 92/100ths. So I have 78 and 21/100ths. That one's already given to me as an easy one. Subtracting 34 and 92/100ths. Again, adding, subtracting, you must line up my decimal places. Then I subtract. Can I do 1 minus 2? Nope, so I need to borrow. Gives me 11. 11 minus 2 is a 9. Can I do 1 minus 9? Nope, so I still borrow. Makes that a 7. 11 minus 9 is a 2. My decimal now comes straight down. 7 minus 4 is 3. 7 minus 3 is 4. So she has 43 and 29/100ths pictures left to paint. I love her precision. She knows she has 29/100ths of a picture to paint. Okay, number 5 we're not going to worry about because I'm not going to do the calculator pieces, but this one is just because 1/3 does not come out easily to a decimal. So I don't even know why they would put that into a decimal problem, but whatever. Okay, turn the page. Here's your first homework set, guys. Okay? Notice, what are we doing? Find each sum or difference. Even though they've given to us as fractions, please turn them all to decimals. Okay? So turn them to decimals. This is the first part of the homework, yes. So page 42, number 1, A through E. So you're only doing this first part. You can cross out the second part. You don't need a calculator. We're not doing that section at all. So only 5 problems to do. Most of them are pretty easy. Obviously, the 4, you multiply that one times 25 to get to 100. 2, you multiply that times 5 to get to 10. 50, multiply that times 2 to get to 100. 25 times 4 to get to 100. 50 times 2 to get to 100. But all of them should be pretty easy. If you don't want to do the hundreds or the tens, you can always just do the division. Either way works. Okay? Those are just showing you what you need to work on in order to get them to decimals. No, we're not done. So we are done in the modules, though. So if you want to work on that while we pass out your next piece, you may do so. Okay, guys, let's look at the front page of the packet. On this first one. That's interesting. Okay, well, it is writing. That's positive. There we go. Okay. We're going to start by comparing what results we get when I multiply 2 very similar numbers. First number we're going to do is one you guys should all be able to do on your own, 51 times 2. So to multiply, all I do is I line them up. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. 102. Make sense? Is there anyone questions anything that we did on that? Okay, let's look at this one. Guys, please quiet down. 5 1/10 times 0 and 2/10. What do I get when I do 2 times 1? 2. What do I get when I get 2 times 5? 10. Do I need to do anything with the zeros? No. Okay. Then how many decimal places did I have that I multiplied? 2. So I go from the right, I come in 1, 2. So that becomes 1 and 200ths. So, hey guys, quiet down, please. Let's do some reflection. Let's look at this. What do you know that is similar and what is different about our two answers? Losena? Good. So what's different? Good. Well said. I love exactly how you said that. So they have the same numbers. But the place value is different. And that is what you're going to find as you are multiplying decimals. Multiplying decimals is actually really easy. We'll give you a simple process here to work through to make this easy for all of you. First thing you're going to do, you're going to add up the total amount of numbers behind the decimal point for all the factors being multiplied. Then I'm going to write that number to the right of the numbers and circle it. So you'll see what we're going to do is all I do is I say, okay, 5 and 1/10. How many decimal places are there? 1. 2/10. How many decimal places are there? 1. So 1 and 1 gives me 2 decimal places. So I'm going to put a 2 right there and I'm going to circle it. Okay? Second step. Multiply like normal, ignoring the decimal points for now. So really all I did was multiplied 51 times 2, right? Because we did that part first. Then I used the number that I circled in step 1 to move the decimal point in the answer to the left that many places. So whatever number I had circled up here, in this case 2, I'm just going to move my decimal places that many times to the left, starting at the far right of the number. What happens if I have empty buckets? Yeah, you do. What do empty buckets get? Zeros. Okay? So I'm going to add that in here as a note. Empty buckets get a 0. That's empty. I don't know what happened to it. Okay? And then check to make sure your answer logically makes sense. So as we talked about earlier, we're going to be doing a quiz next week. As I recall this quiz, I'll be honest, I haven't looked at it. One of the questions, something comes out to like 36 biscuits. But if you do the math wrong, you get like 3 6/10. If I'm doing like 24 of one and 3 of something else, does 3.6 make sense?
No.
No. So you got to make sure that it logically makes sense, guys.
You can't just put random stuff.
You cannot. Okay, let's work some examples together. Our first one, 4 times 2 5/10. Quick Mr. Moore hint. I always put the least number of digits on the bottom. That gives you less math to actually do, less numbers to keep track of. So because of commutative property of multiplication, I can multiply them in any number, any order, I get the same answer, right? 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10. Doesn't matter which way I do it. So same thing here. So 4 only has 1 digit, so I'm going to actually put the 2 5/10 on top. Quick side note. You guys notice all this grid paper in here? This is for those of you that have issues with your writing. Okay? The idea is you have to make sure that all of your columns line up. So in order to help you do that, we've given you this grid paper so you can make sure that everything lines up properly. If you're like me and you actually have really good handwriting, it's not such an issue. But for those of you that struggle a little bit, this can be very helpful for you. Now, really quick, where's my decimal place in 4? JJ? No. If I have a whole number, it's always behind it. So why can I do it like this? Didn't we just spend all this time telling you make sure everything is lined up on the decimals? But now we're doing multiplication. Guys, quiet. It's not the same thing. The rule has changed. We are now multiplying. When I multiply, I do not have to line up the decimals. Can you? Yes, but you'll make yourself more work, and you're going to end up having issues in adding up extra lines. Because to line it up, what I would have to do is do 4.0. Actually, exactly. So why do it? But it's not. What's easier for you to understand is, how many decimals do I have in 2 and 5/10? 1. How many decimals do I have in 4? 0. So 1 plus 0 is 1. So I do a 1 here, and now I'm just doing 25 times 4. Because I don't care about the decimals. So 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Here's the key, though. Once I have done the math, now I bring that decimal place back into being. So I put 1 decimal into my answer. Hey, guys, way too much talking going on today. Between the talking and the humming, stop it. This is being recorded we had a lot of students who were absent this morning. I'm assuming families are still on break. They're going to need to listen to this video. The noise has got to stop. So my answer is just 10. We write it as 10 and 0/10 because that's what our answer came out here. Make sense? Okay, let's try the next one. 3/10 times 3/10. So 0 and 3/10 times 0 and 3/10. How many decimal places do I have in the top number? 1. How many do I have in the second number? So how many total decimal places do I have? Yes, in my world, 1 and 1 is 2. Sorry, JJ. Now I just multiply. What's 3 times 3? 9. Do I have any other numbers to multiply? No, because it's all zeros. But I need how many decimal places? 2. So if I start here and I go 1, 2, what do empty buckets get? 0. This is why that is important, guys. So this is actually 9/100ths is my answer. Does that make sense? Why not, Aaron?
I was just thinking.
Good. Okay, our last one. This is, of all the problems we've done, this is the one where the line paper will be helpful for several of you. Because I've seen your handwriting. So we have the same digits, so I'm just going to keep it the way it is. 5 and 100ths times 1 and 600ths. How many decimal places do I have on the top number? 2. How many on the bottom number? 2. So how many decimal places do I have? 4. So I'm now going to write the 4, and I'm going to ignore it. We're now going to multiply 501 times 106. So in this case, 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 5 is 30. 0. Don't forget the zeros when I move over a place value, right? My next number, though, is 0. So do I have to do this line? No, I can skip the 0 line. I go to the 1s. Whoa, that was fun. Okay, here we go. So I can skip to the 1s, but that means I need to add another 0 here because I've gone over another place value. Does that make sense? Okay. I started at the 6. I've gone over 2 place values to get to the 1. Do you see that? What the heck? Somebody have my mouse or something?
No, the mouse is over here.
I don't understand why it's just randomly switching pages. Okay. Ava, because I have gone from the 6, Ava, because I've gone from the 6, I'm not doing the 0 because normally when I go to the next place value, I add a 0 at the end, right? But now I'm going to the 1, so I need to do 2 zeros because I've gone 2 places over. Okay? So now I'm doing 1 times 501, just means it's going to be 105. And here's where the line paper can help you up, because you can see very clearly that you've got all of these different aisles to add up. So 6 and 0 is 6, 0 and 0 is 0, 0 and 1 is 3, 3 and 0 is 3, or 0 and 1 is 1, 3 and 0 is 3, and nothing with a 5 is a 5. Now is where I pay attention to that 4. So I had to come back in. I put 4 decimal places in, starting at the right. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning the decimal comes between the 5 and the 3. So that gives me 5 and 3,106 10,000ths is my answer.
That is so big.
Questions on anything that we have covered on this first page? It's actually pretty easy. Oh, good. I'm glad you get it, Tatum. Okay, let's turn the page. Here we have a word problem. We'll do this one together. So Courtney jogs 3 4/500 miles each day to train for a half marathon she is running in January. In the month of July, she jogged 26 days. How far did Courtney jog in the month of July? So there's our question. How far did she go? We've done the graph paper over here. If you want to use it, if you need it to line up your decimals, feel free. My handwriting is nice, so I'm just going to do it over here. So 3 4/500 times 26. How many decimals do I have on the top number? 2. How many do I have on the bottom number? 0. So that means I have a total of 2. So now I'm just going to do 345 times 26. 6 times 5 is 30. 24 and 3 is 27. 18 and 2 is 20. Put a 0 because I'm going over in place value. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 4 is 8 and 1 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. Add up each of my columns. 0, 7, 9, 8. Then I say I have 2 decimal places. So coming from the end, I go 1, 2. Gives me 89 and 70 hundredths. Because it's a word problem, we need what? Full sentence. JJ, put your chair down. Stop leaning. So Courtney jogged 89 and 70 hundredths. Do I have to put that 0? Technically, I don't have to, but since it was in my answer, I'm going to put it there anyway. Miles in July. Questions on anything we've covered so far, guys? So everybody's doing okay? Good, because now's your chance to shine. So we're going to do these next 5. You guys can work together. We'll give you guys about 25 minutes to do this. So that means we go to lunch in 7 minutes, and then once you come back, you'll have until about 10 after to finish it up. Okay? So go ahead and start working with your plan. I have 7 minutes left, so I'm going to run through these very quickly. How many of you were able to finish all of them? Anyone? Okay, there we go. Okay, so you guys had a few extra. Please be quiet. I will apologize in advance. I'm flying because we got 7 minutes. So 6/10 times 5. I have 1 decimal place. 30, 1 decimal place means 3. This one, I'm going to reverse the order because, again, I always do the least number of digits on the bottom. 3-digit decimal places gives me 35, 21, 24, 9, 0, 10, 6, 7. Add up my digits, 5, 4, 16, 3. Put 3 decimal places, 3 and 645 thousandths. Giraffe can go 4693 feet per second. How far can it get? In 1 8/10 seconds. So I'm doing 46 and 93 hundredths times 1 8/10. That gives me 3 decimal places. So 24, 72, 74. Guys, please stop the chatter. 8 times 4 is 35, 37. Put my 0 because I'm moving over a place. 3, 9, 6, 4. Now I just add up my lines. Again, penmanship is actually critically important in this to make sure that you can read all your numbers and that they are in a good line. 3 decimal places. So it goes 84 and 474 thousandths feet in 1 8/10 seconds. Okay, number 4 is down here. The car travels 28 45 hundredths with 1 gallon of gasoline. The gasoline tank can hold 11 5/10 gallons. How many miles can this travel on a full tank? So there's our question. So that just means this 1 is actually not needed. All that is telling me is with that 11.5, I'm going to multiply that by 128 or by 28 and 45 hundredths. So 28 45 hundredths times 11 5/10 gives me 3 decimal places. So 25, 22, 42, 10, 14. Going to the next one, 5, 4, 8, 2. 2 zeros, 5, 4, 8, 2. Now I add up all of my different columns. There we go. We have 5, 7, 9, 11, 18, 16. Carry the 1, 10, 12, 327. So you're going to go 327 and 175 thousandths miles on a tank of gas. Okay, this last one was probably the most complex because there's actually 3 different things that you have to do in this. Okay, this one they gave us, excuse me. Come on over. Pears cost 92 cents per pound. Apples cost $1.10 per pound. He bought 3 75 hundredths of pears and 2 1/10 of apples. How much did he pay for everything? So I've got to do each one individually, and then I'll add the 2 together. So the pears are 92 cents a pound. I bought 3 75 hundredths pounds. So 375 times 92 hundredths gives me 4 decimal places. So we go 10, 14, 15, 6, 7, 0, 45. Bless you. Carry the 4, 63, 67, 27, 33. Add it all together. 0, 0, 15, 4, 3. I put 4 decimal places, so it's $3.45 for the pears. And for the apples, we've got 2 1/10 pounds and 110. So I put the 110 on top times 2 1/10. Gives me 3 decimal places. So now I'm just doing 110 times 21. Excuse me. 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 2, 2. Add them together. 0, 1, 3, 2. Put 3 decimal places in. So that gives me 231. So I'm going to take that $3.45, add in the $2.31. So here's why this one's a little trickier, because my rule changed, right? Now I have to line up my decimal places. Gives us a 6, 7. My decimal comes straight down, and a 5. So he spent $5.76 in total. Any questions on any of these? Oh yeah, compared to Okinawa prices, that's dirt cheap. I went to buy a bag or a thing of grapes at Christmas or at Thanksgiving. One little box, $32. Yeah, I sent it back. Okay, here is the rest of your homework. Okay, your homework is this page. You'll notice not anything really complex here, guys. 3-word problems. The last page, if you flip over to the back of the packet, we put in grid papers for you. If you want to do, if you like the grids, You have them to be able to do your work. If you don't like the grids, you can do your work right here. It's okay, either way. Any questions on anything that's expected? So remember, you got two parts. You got the book page and that page. Have a great day, guys.